just 2 computers, too many. This is my tried and true, but it's on its way out. And then I bought this beautiful Apple computer, but I just don't know how to use it to be efficient. So here I am trying to make this one work when I have this expensive one. Anyhow, it's a whole thing. But that's not what today's video is about. I think it was 2 weeks ago, our ads provider called. It was like, we need you to put some statistics on your landing page. Like, give us the stats. How much are you increasing your client's revenue when they work with you? How much is their net income, right? Revenue minus all the expenses. Is that going up or down? Like, what's the stat? How many clients have you served? So if I'm being real, I just didn't want to do the work. But I listened, we pulled the stats, and then truthfully, we checked them twice because I knew our stats were going to be good. Let me just be honest. We tell our clients what they should be paying themselves, how much they should set aside for taxes, what their profit account should look like. We give them all that data. So I knew we were doing well. I knew our clients were kicking butt, on average. But I guess I just didn't realize it was this good. So on average, our clients' revenue increased 55% when working with us. 55 freaking percent their revenue went up. That's crazy. And then their net income increased by 123%. So I had to dive in further. I had to know why were our clients on average, so I could help out the ones that weren't doing this. Why was their revenue going up? What were the things that made them increase their revenue by working with our firm? And then most importantly, why was their net income going up by like significant amounts? And that's what we're going to dive in today. We're going to talk about the 5 things these clients had in common. And no, they're not all from the same industry. We have HVAC companies, hair salons, nail salons. We also have brick and mortar, chiropractors, med spas. It's a variety. Do you hear the dog? Every time. It's a variety of companies, but the ones that are successful all do these 5 things, and that's the key. But if you're new here, my name is Cheryl. My business partner Katrina and I own Empowered to Profit, where we help small business owners just like you put more of your revenue into your personal account. Because here's the thing. If your revenue isn't going into your personal account, what's the purpose of all this? So let's just jump into those 5 key factors that our clients have in common whose revenue is going up, whose net income is going up. That way you can copy it. Number 1, they just don't quit. Here's the thing, you can't become more profitable. You can't have a successful business if you quit. And I'm not all about the mindset and I want the strategy. So it feels a little funny giving like a woo-woo one, but it's true. If you quit, you can't have a profitable business. So they just didn't quit when things were hard. Let me give you an example of one of our clients. She owns a salon. She came to us, she was in the red, she was not making money, frustrated, rightfully so, like we're bringing in revenue, but I'm broke at the end of every month. What the heck is going on? After working with us, she's now turning a profit and at least 85% of her initial debt she came in with paid off. And no, she didn't add more debt. Like, that's crazy. But she wouldn't have that result if she quit. She wouldn't have that result if she didn't commit to figuring it out. She wouldn't have this result of having a profitable salon if she gave up when it was hard. But the thing was, she committed to figuring it out. She didn't commit to the emotional side to it. She committed to looking at the data and finding a solution. She knew she wanted that profitable salon. So she took action steps based on data to make it happen. And then I am so stinking proud of her. I wish I could shout it out. And if you're watching, you know who you are. I'm cheering you on. Number 2, the clients whose revenue is increasing as well as their net income, they're not against trying something. They are aware of what is driving their revenue. They know what service is bringing in the most of the dollars. And when they test or add things, they're aware of the effect, right? So they're not against testing, but they take it a step further and they evaluate the result of that test. I also have to say, these clients don't try to change everything at once, because then you can't measure what was successful and what wasn't. They make small incremental changes and it has a huge effect. right? Perhaps you want to add an additional service, offer something new. Evaluate if that service is profitable after a period of time, right? Is there demand for it, or is it just draining resources? Be willing to look into it. I'll give you an example. I have someone who is a service provider and they wanted to offer an education piece. They marketed, they did all the things, and it was a flop. It was an absolute flop. There wasn't the demand to equal the profitability. They tried it, they evaluated, and they went back to what brings in the actual dollars. Number 3, the clients who are successful, where their revenue is constantly increasing, they show up for their meetings. They're involved. They take action steps based on what is talked about. Now, obviously, since they're our clients, not one of them is doing their bookkeeping or their profit strategy. We handle that for them, but it doesn't mean that they ignore that data. They use it to make a business decision. And that's the whole point. That's where bookkeeping becomes really purposeful and more than a tax time activity. You need to take that information and use it to make a forward-facing decision. All these business owners where their revenue is increasing, that's exactly what they're doing. So I want to urge you, if you're not seeing a spike in revenue, if you're not seeing a spike in your net income year after year, what are you going to do differently so you see a different result? Start paying attention to the data and get your emotions out of it. It's going to tell you what to do. The problem is so many business owners, their ego is so big, they don't want to look at the black and white data. Rather, they want to feel and they know the answer. It just doesn't work that way. All right, for number 4 here, I'll be honest. I didn't know if I should share this or not. And the reason I didn't know if I should share it or not is I don't want to discourage you. But it's the truth. Our clients whose revenue is growing, they're not new. They've been at the same old thing year after year. They are experts in what they do. They've honed in on their craft. They're not trying to be in 5,000 different areas. They don't have scattered focus. They know what they do, and they constantly do it, and they show up, and they show up, and they show up. They're not new. And number 5, what all these businesses had in common, even though they come from different industries where their revenue is constantly increasing, is that small incremental change added up to big results. Now, if you're anything like me, you'd be like, great, what was that change? What do I do with that? Let me tell you. We look at pricing. Sometimes it goes higher, sometimes it goes lower, but it's always strategic pricing. It's not haphazard. It's not how you feel. We look at COGS as a ratio of revenue. How long is inventory sitting on your shelf? Is it flying off too fast? Could you save money by buying in bulk, right? Or perhaps you're on the other end of the spectrum and stop storing it because it's not moving. We look at that. We look at the expenses and we're willing to make small changes for a lasting result. That may mean changing your insurance provider. Yeah, small pain in the rear end, but for a long-term savings. At times, it's evaluating expenses that aren't moving the business forward, or you're losing business because you're not willing to spend. That's a thing too. Do you see this baby dog? You're very cute, but very needy. So in summary, those who use the data, their revenue is increasing. If you want your revenue to increase in your business, look at the data. Stop being so emotional and working on thoughts and feelings. Use your data. But I also want to give you a heads up. You have to give your data time to work. If you're just pivoting every other week because you're not seeing immediate results, you have to invest in the plan and then evaluate. But if your investment is so short term into whatever you decide to do, you'll never know if it actually works or not because you haven't committed to it. As a reminder, you can't become profitable if you quit. So you have to figure it out. And with that, cheers to profit.